You got some cannabis stocks in your portfolio? No? It'd be a lot cooler if you did. So let's talk about that. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Stock Advantage. My name is Darren, and if you know what movie that's from, comment that down below. You're awesome. So today we're going to talk about the cannabis sector. So it's been very popular lately with the latest rounds of skyrocket prices followed by train wrecking days. So what I want to look at, though, is the more mid to long-term outlook for these stocks, because I still think that there's several opportunities for these stocks to 2, 3, even 5x going forward. And so I'm going to touch on a few of those specific stocks and then ways that you can invest in the entire cannabis sector and maybe have a little less risky play. Again, this is just for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, but if you do enjoy the video, I would appreciate a like. If you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you can always stay up to date with your stock advantage, with the stock advantage, and keep your stock advantage or something like that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what happened last week. Last week was the culmination of a major run-up for the entire cannabis sector. Stocks like TLRY, Aurora, APHR, they all had, and SNDL, right, sundial growers, they all had huge weeks, followed by just a train wreck of an ending there. But that's kind of to be anticipated. So you've got a few things happening. There's renewed interest on the whole cannabis sector related to the political changes in the U.S. And the potential growth going forward. Pile that with a lot of Reddit users and the Wall Street bets and retail investors seeing the opportunity and seeing the stocks that were already climbing and looking at the opportunity to potentially short squeeze them or just, ride the wave. So that's kind of what happened. That was in the past. Some of those stocks 2x and 3x just last week, but then they came back down to earth. So let's look at these 2x opportunities moving forward. I'm going to preface this by saying that analysts hate cannabis stocks. Actually, analysts hate any stock that has future growth but has yet to fully prove it out. That's a fact. They need to move into the 21st century and realize that a stock's price is not solely based on EPS, revenue, and profit anymore. A lot of what stock prices are built around is future growth, future opportunity. If you look at companies like Tesla, Neo, SunPower, and Snowflake, if you look at their EPS and their earnings and all that stuff, some of them have pretty good earnings and EPS, but they don't justify the valuation of the current stock price. Analysts don't understand that, but retail investors and investors in general aren't banking on now. They're banking on the future. They're looking at what these companies can become, which is not a bad way to do it. But in turn, it makes for a more volatile current status because a lot of these things aren't proven yet. And so any bad news can hit them down or can bring them down. Good news can make them go through the roof, right? So it's that kind of market now. So you've got to be aware of that as you go into these trades. With that being said, I believe that the cannabis sector is set up for a similar movement going forward. The financials may not make sense yet, but if you look at the future state and where this sector can go, there is for sure opportunity there for huge growth. So while I think that the whole cannabis sector will boom 2021 going forward, let's look at a few of these hottest stocks and with big upside potential. Of course, all of this is pending decriminalization, legalization, and market growth in the U.S. as well as some other countries. First off, let's look at TLRY. So TLRY is the one that was a potential big short squeeze. It did have up to 50% shares shorted at one point. And it did squeeze up some, but then it came crashing back down to earth. It's been on a heck of a tear the last several months since it announced a merger with APHR. So they announced that merger in December. And so if you go back and look, both of their stock prices shot through the roof. So once they merge, they'll actually become the largest cannabis producer in the world. And because of that merger, if you have APHR, you'll get, I think, approximately 0.84 shares of TLRY for every share of APHR you have. So you're bringing two companies together, and they're going to make like one giant bud of... That's a terrible joke. Anyways, they're going to make a big company, and they're going to make a lot of weed. So a couple things here. Both companies are currently working on extensions beyond the Canadian market. That's going to be the future of these companies. I think TLRY just set a deal with England to import some. And so they're going to be looking at moving more into the Europe and the U.S. market as it allows. And that's where your major growth is going to happen. Just a note here on them. They do report earnings on February 17th, so it could be dicey this week. TLRY has not knocked the ball out of the park on their last several earnings. APHR has actually done pretty well. And so we'll have to see what these earnings look like, but it's going to be a little bit tied to current. And then, like I said, it's going to be a lot tied to what their future growth plans are, how the stock reacts on the upcoming earnings date. So TLRY, which hit highs of I think $77, $78 the other day, is back down under $30. And if you look at the chart, it's back down to the normal range of high growth that it was already seeing. From this range, I could easily see a 2 to 3x run up, and it's not going to happen next week. But if you're looking throughout 2021, I think there's high potential for that. Next up, let's look at Canopy Growth. They forecast some pretty good growth going into 2021 and 2022. They're currently down about 20% from their highs. I see this one also having that 2x potential. I think it'll be a little more long-term in the 12 to 18, maybe even 24-month range. But again, it's all going to depend on the growth plans and what their future prospects look like. Next up, let's touch on Aurora Cannabis, or ACB. It was previously one of the hottest and most owned stocks on Robinhood, but they have had several quarters where they're just tanking. They're missing their numbers. They're missing their EPS, their profits, the revenue. I mean, it's been a train wreck city going on with Aurora Cannabis. But their forecast is looking like a decent growth. But how much do you trust a forecast of a company who hadn't hit it in like 6 quarters? So I'm a little iffy on Aurora Cannabis. I would not put my money into this one currently for the 2x to 3x potential going forward. Last up, let's talk about Sundial Growers, SNDL. This dude has been popping all week. It's hot. People are like selling their kidneys to buy some SNDL. It's getting pretty crunk. So what's going on with it? Sundial Growers, listen to this description. They engage in the production and distribution of flower, pre-rolls, and vapes. What? They're all over the place. It operates through the following segments: cannabis, ornamental flowers, and corporate. So they've got a lot going on. They did IPO a few years back at $11, and so people like to refer back to that, how high they traded. But as soon as they IPO'd, they went instantly down the tank. They just kept going down, down, down. But they did, in last year, replace their entire core management team. I mean, they had problems that were suggested that they sent out half a ton of cannabis that was bad, and they had it was rejected due to poor quality, right? So that kind of stuff's hard to recover from. So why is this one up like 645% in the last 3 months? I think it has a lot to do with the cannabis sector in whole, right? Everybody's always looking for the penny stock in a sector that's going to just go to the moon, right? They're like, TLRY's already $30 a share. I'm going to get in on SNDL at 25 cents and ride it to $30 a share. And so you've got some sympathy play here is what I believe is happening. You know, if you look at these charts, as one of these cannabis sector, or as the cannabis sector goes up, SNDL goes with it. So with that being said, I believe that this one will be a sympathy 2 to 3x play this year. It got up to highs of like almost $5 a share the other day before cooling back down. I think it closed around $2.08 or something like that on Friday. And so it's possible that as you see TLRY and you see some of these other cannabis stocks start growing and really getting that the big gains from 2021 and 2022, I think SNDL will follow suit. I don't see it being a $20 or $30 stock. I mean, they only had 50 million in sales, or $50 million revenue for 2020. So they're a small P in the what's going on here. But with SNDL, even though it may follow that 2 to 3x pattern, it's also more risky because it is a penny stock and it doesn't have as much financial support and growth to back it up. So that's to break down the stocks. Between all of these, I would look at TLRY as a pickup, under $30 a share potentially. And I think that they will lead the pack since they're going to become the largest. And then I would also throw in a little bit of SNDL, a little bit, just a tiny bit of SNDL, just to get that sympathy play. I think it's going to be dragged along for the ride. The other stocks will find their way, but I think that TLRY is going to lead it, and then SNDL is just going to be hanging on. Also, don't forget to keep an eye out for the U.S.-based cannabis stocks. Right, most of these stocks are Canada-based, because that's kind of where the market's been. And so I'm not covering all those in the video, but there's a lot of U.S. cannabis stocks that will start to take off as more legalization and decriminalization starts to happen. So keep an eye on those. So what if you don't want to invest in a single stock, right? You think TLRY is too risky or Sundial is too risky. So what you do then is you can go with the ETF options. There's a lot of ETF options out there related to the cannabis sector. Some of the most popular ones are MJ, YOLO. Yeah, that's a real thing. CNBS, MSOS, POTX, HMUS. I mean, it just keeps going on and on. So what I recommend is do some due diligence here. Don't go out and buy any of these stocks that I'm suggesting. Go take those as an avenue to start your due diligence process. Do some research on the company. See if they line up with what your investing strategy is. And then from there, you can take positions if you feel like it's a good opportunity. So real quick before we go, if you do want to open a new trading account over at Webull, I've got the link down below in this video. You click on that, go deposit $100, open your account. You get 2 free stocks, and I get 1 as a kickback. So that's just how that works. But that's just a way you guys can also help support the channel. I appreciate it very much. And if you have any other specific stocks, or if you want me to break down any of these in more detail, just put that in the comments down below, and I will be glad to do that. I do have a video on SNDL, a deep dive, coming out probably tomorrow. So make sure that you're subscribed so you can catch that one. So anyways, appreciate you guys, and until next time, have a great day and God bless.